Welcome to the Solana Incubator Demo Day. I'm Iman Motamedi. I run the Solana Incubator program with Solana Labs. We asked ourselves, what was the best way to scale the knowledge, the expertise we had built up over the years to support the ecosystem? And the incubator was one of the answers to that question, where basically we said, what if we bring in 4 to 6 teams for a 3-month period of time into our offices in New York City and really build alongside them to help create the next blue chip company on Solana, build the next Jupiter, the next Phantom on Solana. And the thesis with keeping it small was really to have that intimate experience with each of these teams where we can use the full roster of lab support, whether it's on the design side, whether it's on the marketing side, to alleviate any challenges that they have and help accelerate their progress. On top of that, we have all of the traditional, YC style office hours, workshops, et cetera. I think in Cohort 2, I counted just before this, we've had 95 independent events, whether it's an office hour or workshop or something else. And so it's a ton of programming. But on top of that, it's really the hands-on experience working with each of these teams to accelerate their progress. We had Cohort 1 last year. You might be familiar with some of the amazing teams there. We had Sanctum on the LST side. We had Shaga within cloud gaming, Espresso Cash on the payments and remittances side. But as we were going about launching Cohort 2, the big thing we were thinking about was real-world adoption of Solana. There's been such a promise of crypto over the years, but always this question of, hey, when will actual people in the real world be using this? And we said, let's devote the entire cohort to doing just that, where each of these 6 teams are focused explicitly on driving real world adoption, whether on the side of the institutions, whether it's on the side of real world users, payments, et cetera. Now is really the moment to be doing that. Some of you might have seen the announcement of the Solana Policy Institute. Some of you might have, big clap for that. Some of you might have seen as well, we have Accelerate coming up at the end of May. And really, this is our moment to kind of change the narrative for what crypto is, both within the US and globally. Both from a regulatory standpoint, we've seen some shifting winds from a maturation of where the technology is, from a sort of readiness and willingness to try this technology. And so this is the moment where we decided, hey, let's pour a little gas on the fire and see if we can accelerate all of this. So very excited to introduce you to all of the teams. And just for context on sort of what to expect format-wise today, we'll have each of the 6 teams come up. They'll present on what they're working on, the progress they've made. I'll be hopping in and out as your MC, part-time MC for this as well, introducing each of the teams. So the team that I'd love to first introduce you to, on the side of, the institutions are coming, let's drive real-world adoption. A lot of what people hear is RWAs, real-world assets. And the reason these are important is it's actually bringing legitimate assets that are out there in Web 2 in the real world, bringing them on chain. So it helps support the assets on chain narrative. But also we want to support assets that move, assets that are actually being used on chain, being transacted with. And this team, the Alphaledger team, comes from PIMCO, 20 years, has done $800 million in assets on chain so far. And the reason we're particularly excited about this one is because they're actually working with assets at the source of origination. So they're working with issuers, the banks, to actually bring those assets onto chain from the very beginning of the life cycle. So it actually helps fulfill the promise of Solana from the institutional side, from the real world asset side, et cetera. So please join me in giving Manish Dutta from Alphaledger a warm welcome.
Thanks, Ivan. That was the whole pitch. That's it. Hi, everyone. My name is Manish Dutta. And along with my co-founder, Chris Wade, we started Alphaledger. Our focus is really to tokenize real-world assets. And so today, I'm really excited to talk about a fundamental change to approaching tokenized yield. To give you some context, as Ivan mentioned, we have tokenized over 800 million in assets. So we've been busy. We are the first ones in the US to have tokenized municipal debt, both loans and securities, while building a broker-dealer and a transfer agent. And this was all under Gensler era. So that was pretty painful. Recently, we signed TradeRev, which is the largest secondary market for fixed income securities, on a multi-year contract. For them, we're building a tokenized brokered CD market. So as you can tell, we've been busy laying the foundation, the groundwork to bring tokenized real-world assets onto public chain, in this case, Solana. Prior to this, I was at a firm called PIMCO out of Newport Beach, where I helped build the core infrastructure, help them launch actively managed ETFs, and build the technology for the mortgage desk. But the best part was the team that helped me build is with me today at Alphaledger. We have worked together for 15 years. And so we are in the perfect position to deliver some compelling yield. To give you some context, here's the market. Massive market. But I want you to focus on this tiny little blue dot right here. That's $15 billion of tokenized real-world assets on chain today. 800 million is the work that we have done. It's not easy, but we have done it. And so as we think about assets coming onto chain, there are two assets today. One is the base treasury yield that gives you daily liquidity. On the other spectrum, you have crypto. So you have a massive chasm in between the two asset classes. And you can see why the investors are on the sideline. I'm on the sideline waiting for some compelling yield. So collectively, we said, you know what? We can bring these assets on chain. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring tokenized real-world assets, which is the missing mile, onto public chain Solana. Because these assets outperform treasuries. And given our work with the issuers, the originators, banks, and the asset managers, we have access to some compelling products. One of them are alt mortgages. These assets outperform treasuries by a mile. So we're going to tokenize them, we're going to bring them on chain, and distribute them as tokenized assets on chain. But we also know we can do better. Today's investors are looking for compelling yield and daily liquidity. So with your help and support, we are going to announce the first native fund on Solana that we're going to launch. And this fund is going to offer a target distribution of 12%. Today, we are changing the yield conversation. We call this fund T12. T12 will be an actively managed strategy by some of the smartest people that we know. They're former PIMCO folks. With a target distribution of 12%, I think I said that twice now, but I'll say it again. Daily liquidity, exclusively on Solana, and we're going to launch it in Q2. But I got one more thing to share. That is, the token will be composable. You will be able to take this token as a collateral asset. And we are perfectly positioned to deliver. So to recap, we're launching a fund called T12, active strategy, target distribution of 12%, daily liquidity, collateralizable, and exclusively on Solana. So please sign up. Thank you. And as a broker-dealer, I have to say, here are the disclaimers, just in case anybody wants to read it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Manish.
Thank you.
We're going to be hopping around industries a little bit here. We've sort of talked a little bit about finance so far. Now we're going to go over to the data side. And there's all this hype, as we all know, around AI, ML. Our next presenter, actually, after this one, is going to go deep into ML. But for this one, the importance of data has only grown in the context of AI. How do we train these models? How do we make sure they have the right inputs and the right data sets to output the right results? And what's also happened in that process is the cost of data has skyrocketed, meaning to go and get data sets from Reddit and Twitter, it's only gotten more and more expensive. And at the same time, storing that data through the snowflakes of the world is also very cumbersome. So I'm really excited to introduce Nirmal. Chakra is basically working to solve each of those problems, making data more accessible and making storing it more making storing it cheaper. So please give a warm welcome to Nirmal.
Thanks, Iman. I'm Nirmal. I'm one of the co-founders at Chakra Labs. We're a 5-month-old business, and today I'm going to be walking you through the motivations for our business, problems we're solving, a brief demo of one of our solutions, and then our roadmap looking forward. Some brief motivations here. Simple statement: models are only as good as the data they have access to. This motivates a lot of what we do in our business, and the canonical example I'd always give here is Perplexity AI. It's a fabulous product. It took a model from OpenAI, and it incorporated a bunch of structured data that allowed the end outputs to be that much richer than the model itself. They incorporated financial data, they incorporated real-time web search, they indexed the internet in a manner that allowed them to serve this data in real time for inference use cases. Now, I would argue that data is broken today, and that if you do not have a $1 billion data budget, you cannot build applications at the quality, fidelity, and performance like Perplexity AI. Specifically, when we talk about data, there's two problems that really resonated for our customer base as we did hundreds of user interviews. The first is that data is really expensive to interact with. Data traditionally is warehoused in products like Snowflake and Databricks. These are $50 billion companies, huge, massive companies, and they're really, really expensive for developers to use. And the second problem is data is siloed. It's really hard, really expensive, and really intractable to get the data that you need to ultimately run your business and run your models at scale. On warehousing costs, Snowflake, Databricks, as I mentioned, these are massive businesses. And if you talk to 100 companies, you pull up their Gartner report online, they'll all tell you the same thing. I can't believe I'm throwing mid-six figures at this one piece of obscure software in my business. I can't believe that I'm eating into my margins in such a heavy way as a consequence of my Snowflake costs. On data siloing, these are some of the data sets that really matter in the world. Things like Twitter, things like Reddit, things like GitHub, things like LinkedIn. These are all consumer-generated data points, and humorously, the enterprises are the ones that are monetizing these data sets. Reddit sold all of their users' data to Google for $200 million. Twitter's new API plan, if you want their Twitter fire hose, is going to cost you between $1.5 million to $2.5 million a year. These are the data sets that really matter, that are ultimately only capturing value in the enterprise level, not at the individual consumer level. What's the solution? We're building the web as a database, the cheapest and fastest way to access mission-critical data sets. And we've taken a three-pronged approach in terms of our solution. First, the data needs to live somewhere. And we've built the best-in-class next-gen data warehouse. It's best-in-class in terms of cost, in terms of performance, in terms of ergonomics. And we would boast that we have 80% of Snowflake's functionality at 20% of the cost. Second, we built the open data marketplace. This is the home where organizations, enterprises, and consumers can upload their data, exchange this data, sell this data, and be able to capture that value on top of that data set. And then last, we built, and we're launching next week, the decentralized indexing of the web. This is the way that we're cultivating rich data sets owned by the community, generated by the community, and ultimately monetized by the community, which we hope drives material usage and revenues to our data warehouse platform. We'll do a quick demo here. There we go. So we'll start at decentralized indexing of the web. So this is a Chrome extension consumers can download. They can opt into collecting a variety of public data sets. And once they've collected those data sets, for example, here I'm going to switch to Twitter in a second, and I'm going to go to my profile and just start scrolling. And all of my public data here is being captured, and it's being structured in a way that's tractable for the enterprise. Here what I'm showing is our data marketplace. In just 3 clicks, you can go from sign up to subscribing to that Twitter data set. In terms of ergonomics, we support standard SQL. And in just a minute, I can query all of the tweets that have been collected by that end collector. So this is all of my tweets now cleanly tabulated and formatted in the data warehouse. And in addition to just technical developers here, we also have built a ton of really cool, fascinating AI integrations. For example, here's us using that Twitter data set in Claude Desktop directly. We have Grok 3 at home. You can access Twitter data sets on any AI application, on any AI surface in just a couple of clicks. So who is 0x Normal on Twitter? He's the CEO of Chakra AI. Gives me a ton of metadata associated with my, my public footprint on Twitter. In terms of the impact of the incubator, thank you. We started the incubator in mid-Jan. We launched our data warehouse at the end of that month. We signed our first major enterprise customer in February. We signed our second 2 major enterprise customers last month with several AI companies in the pipeline via LOIs. And we're launching decentralized indexing of the web next week. And there's some alpha drop for this community. So if you want to participate in our private alpha, feel free to scan the QR code and feel free to help us in our mission of organizing the world's structured data. Thank you.
Up next, we're going further into this AI ML side of things. And I think on the AI side, we see this narrative around what is the actual use case? You know, who's actually willing to pay for these services? When are we going to see this adopted into the real world? And this next company, Crunch Labs, has actually gone deep on that question on the ML side of things, where they're working with a ton of financial institutions today that are leveraging their services on the ML side. And I'll let Peter explain it in a second, but the gist of what Crunch is doing, they have a community of 7,000 ML engineers working with financial institutions who put up bounties and say, hey, we have this data challenge. Can we work with your ML community? Crunch hosts these different competitions where everyone competes, and the 50 best models get aggregated, get sent back to the financial institution, and the bounty gets split up between those 50 crunchers. So very excited to introduce Peter to go deeper into this dynamic.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for having us. Yes, I'm not Jean Harel, or nor French, in fact, but representing Crunch today. As mentioned, we're a community of thousands of people across the world who like solving problems. All sorts of smart people in all sorts of interesting places, on dairy farms in France, and universities in New Zealand, and so forth. And we do this because talent is distributed across the world uniformly, but opportunity to use it is not. And we, as mentioned, we try to connect with real problems and try to find a way to match the best solution to the problem at hand. It probably goes without saying that there's an explosion of models these days. It's almost impossible for any person to search the space of them all. I've been doing modeling applied mathematics for 25 years, and there's no way I can keep up with everything, nor can anyone. So whether you're in financial services or you're in medicine, we did a contest recently where you had to predict whether a blood cell would portend cancer or something less severe through image recognition. To stay on the cutting edge, the only real way to do it is to throw the problem out there to the entire world. That's actually the only solution, and so that's what we offer. If you've worked in modeling, you would know how this feels. Most modeling efforts in large organizations are kind of arranged in a pyramid of people, and you throw a problem to someone, and then we know what happens. Endless iterations, the same project going on for years and years. Instead, these days, companies who have huge quant teams themselves, for example, Adia Lab, for those of you who know, the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Abu Dhabi, of course, has a team of quants that's more expensive than Manchester United. And we put them up against the Crunch community, and we beat them by 20%, twice. So that gives you some idea of the power you can get if you just give everyone in the world a chance to solve the problem, and you don't care about where they come from or which institution they went to school at or anything else except whether they can solve the problem. So now what's the next step? Well, we're using the protocol. I spend every day using the protocol to create games. You can think of my games as sort of a very high velocity version of Polymarket. I'm sure you've heard of Polymarket, I'm sure you've heard of prediction markets, but you probably haven't heard of contests where you have to make predictions, hundreds of times a second. Right? So if think of Polymarket as being correspondence chess, this is bullet chess or whatever, this is the real game. And I connect this up to the financial industry to capture the value. But in the future, you'll be able to capture the value too. So we're trying to put together a permissionless system that lets you access the power of all these geniuses across the world. And of course on Solana. I don't think we can get the video to play here, but here's a quick example of the value. I mentioned the Adia example already. They've run many contests over the years, and they're just about to launch a new one this year where you have to think about whether there's been structural changes in the market. They recently ran one where you had to detect causality, so to try to determine if one variable was causing another or not. And that pushed the benchmark actually up about 15%. I went to a conference in Colombia just the other week, and everyone was talking about this contest because it's one thing to look at the textbooks about causality and so forth, look at the methods, but the contest just blew everything away. And if you look at the winning entry, it's extremely elegant, graphical neural network. So pretty inspiring stuff, actually. Now, in finance, the value of this, if you can plug real-time games into the financial system, is quite staggering. We had some big pictures on the previous slides about total notional traded, but you look at some of the biggest markets like FX and so forth, there's literally hundreds of billions of dollars sitting there in the bid-offer spread, right? There's more that trades every hour than over much larger time periods for anything else. And so that's how we're trying to capture the value. And we're trying to pass it back. You know, my dream is that someone could launch an algorithm. By the way, if you're into Python or Rust or anything, you can just go to our website, CrunchDAO.com, take the example Python notebooks, modify the model, and upload them and run it. There will come a time, I hope, where you can upload a model and run it. It will keep running. It will keep making you money forever, in a way, accessing the financial markets in a way you can never do otherwise. And you can hand it down to your grandchildren. That's the plan. So that's what we've been building. The community's been growing very rapidly, as you can see. And the quality of the community has been proven over and over again. It's also a great place to come if you just want to learn ML and talk to other smart people about how it works. So that's Crunch Labs. It's been nice being here and learning about all the other projects going on Solana.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Peter. And a special thank you for Peter. Peter actually kind of got thrown into doing this presentation. Jean is the founder and CEO of Crunch, but unfortunately he ran into some visa issues last week. So Peter very graciously stepped in to do the presentation. Next up, we're going into payments. And payments has often been such kind of like a promise of crypto to solve, and specifically the challenge of payments to a merchant, right? Everyone knows about the 2%, 3% fees that credit card companies take when you go and swipe to pay for something. But I think the challenge that a lot of companies trying to solve for that have faced is on the consumer side, which is how do we get people to have Solana wallets so that when they get to that merchant, they can pay using USDC. But obviously those market-based challenges are difficult and it's hard to get everyone to adopt a new wallet. And so Easy said, what if we let consumers continue to pay how they've been paying, but actually work on the merchant side to eliminate these payment processing fees? My favorite part of their story is that the vertical they've started with, the vertical they've captured, is elementary school lunches, and it's being used kind of across the board there. So I'll leave it to Andrew and Nico to tell you guys more. Please welcome Andrew and Nico from Easy.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Show of hands real quick. I'm just curious, who here has either owned or operated a business in the past? Okay, how many of you have had to deal with payment processors? Okay, more? How many would say that that's a enjoyable experience? I don't think many people do. We're here to kind of change that. So essentially, in the past year, we've kind of been reimagining payments. We started around a year and a half ago. We've been trying to build something that actually works for businesses instead of against them. So here's the truth. Businesses shouldn't have to bleed money just to take payments. At Easy, we're flipping the script, cutting costs and putting businesses first, and making payments work for the people who are actually running the economy. So the current state of the industry, payments are broken. Square, Stripe, PayPal, all the big incumbents, they've had their way for far too long, and they take a cut of your revenue, they hold your money hostage, and they stack up hidden fees. Why? Because once they've got your payments, they're in control. But you built your business, you put in the work, and they're the ones cashing in. And that's not how it should be. So crypto has the power to completely renovate the way that the payments industry is. And the big players are not going to be the ones to do it.
So since this is a crypto event, I think we can all agree that stablecoins are the future of payments. They're going to streamline transactions, improve efficiency, and eventually drive the cost of payments down to zero. We believe in that future too. But let's be real, businesses move slow, and adopting new technology is even slower. The reality is that most businesses aren't ready to jump straight into wallets and DeFi. They need a bridge that meets them where they are now and not just where we wish that they were. There aren't businesses today that are letting people pay with their wallets to buy lattes. It's just not a thing. So that's why we built Easy, and at its core, our system is built on 4 simple principles. As costs go down, businesses, not middlemen, should see the savings. Merchants should own their own payment infrastructure. Data is king, and people should be able to transact at the lowest possible rates.
Yeah, and program their payments, right? So the current payment landscape is designed to profit off of businesses, not help them. Fees are high, and when costs drop, funds usually go to the big guys. At Easy, we're changing the narrative. So merchants should keep more of their own money, control their financial infrastructure, and have the freedom to automate the payments the way that they want to, and all under their own control. The biggest unlock is owning their own data. Businesses control their data, they gain the power to make smarter and more profitable decisions. And that's exactly what Easy enables. With Easy, merchants get total control over their cash flow, programmable payments, all in their own infrastructure, and ways to profit off of it. So we start with familiar interfaces and tools, just like you'd see in a regular payment processor. TradFi normally forces you into use a custodial account. Now it's your own self-custodial wallet. We use the traditional payments infrastructure, but we blend it with Web3 and take away the complexities of it to unlock the efficiency for normal businesses. Any automations you create, it's a self-custodial program running on Solana. Your infrastructure, you own it. Once funds are on chain, there's no middlemen, no permissions, just pure ownership. Now we keep pricing competitive. We start at a flat rate of 2.8% and 30 cents. Most of the competitors are at 2.9 or higher. But instead we have a massive difference. Instead of just cutting fees, we actually pay you back for improving your cash flow efficiency. We call it automation cashback. It makes our rates dynamic, and you choose, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure or choose your own pricing model based on how well you optimize your payments. So here's how it works. Behind the scenes, we earn yield on different things, real world assets, T-bills, et cetera. And as people put their payments into automation, the more days it's averaged, basically you earn that yield and it gets applied to your payment processing. So it drives down costs. With Easy, you get all the tools without all the extra fees. All of these different companies charge so much just for every incremental feature. We believe that features should just be features, not premium features, so we offer them for free. So you get invoicing, you own your accounts receivable, virtual terminal for integrated with accounting and streamlined payments, subscriptions, setting up subscriptions the way you want, no-code checkout and payment links for people that might not be developer savvy, and custom integrations using our API and SDK, no code for online and in-person payments, and using point-of-sale hardware. So this isn't some coming soon type thing. It's live, it's working, and it's already helping businesses today. So we started a case study and launched a pilot in July of 2024. We launched a pilot with 41 K through 12 private schools. It's something that should never be anywhere near crypto. And we process all of their lunch programs. So we've got around 16,500 kids that get their payments get their lunches every day through Easy. They were previously with Square. And even though they were just at the base rate without any of the premium features, they had a landed rate of around 6.2%. They had $10 million in volume, paid $620,000 in fees. Because of their transaction size, $10, 30 cents, that's 3% right there. With Easy, they saved $120,000 just by switching over, and that's just started with the base level. That's a 19.4% reduction in their payment processing costs. So it's real savings, real businesses, and real impact.
And really everything you've seen thus far is just the beginning. Our goal, and bear with me here, 0 fees. Payments should fuel your business, they shouldn't drain it. During this incubator, we've been setting the stage to build the world's first free merchant services platform. Inspired by our friends over at Helium and our former businesses, we actually started off as competitors in a previous lifetime. We're building a Deepin-inspired opt-in data sharing and monetization model. And more information on this soon. We're not going to give it away all today.
We just wanted to announce also that we are opening our seed round next week. If there's investors out there that believe in our vision and what we see as the future of payments, please get in contact. And if you're a business owner tired of throwing money at payment processors, just go to easy.co, it's easy.co, and book a demo. You shouldn't have to pay by their rules because payments should be easy. All done. Thanks, guys.
Our next project, we're going back to the financial side. And you guys have probably seen on crypto Twitter this meme, the institutions are coming, the institutions are here. But what are these institutions actually doing on Solana? And we heard from Alphaledger on the RWA side, kind of bringing the supply side on chain. But what other actions can these institutions take? And Marinade, who's up next, is answering that question. You all might be familiar with Marinade. They're the original liquid staking token. They have Marinade native as well. But the reason that we were so excited to have them in the incubator, to have them in New York, close proximity to capital markets, is they're really driving institutional staking and helping bring institutions here, making it extremely easy for them to stake, to get involved in the ecosystem, et cetera. So please give it up for Michael from Marinade.
Cool. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael, and I work for Marinade, the marketplace for Solana staking. Marinade has been around since 2021, and it started originally as a hackathon and has been completely bootstrapped up until this point to more than $1 billion in staked SOL to help secure and decentralize the Solana network. But why do we care, and why should you care? So imagine tomorrow waking up to these headlines. Okay, the network goes offline because of the stake centralization. How does that make you feel? So, and this is not even far-fetched. 3 years ago, the major server provider went offline, taking down more than 20% of Solana stake back at that time. So stake centralization is real, it's an issue, and we gotta fix it. At least we should be trying, for the least. So pretty much basically that's the idea why we started Marinade back then and what leads us even today. Why it's broken? You have 1,300 Solana validators on chain, so picking one, it's very confusing. It's very tricky. And even once you picked, they change commissions, they go offline, so you never really know if you picked the right one. So that's why most of the people would default to stake with the big names, with the biggest, making the network more centralized and less secure as a result. So that's the old way. The old way is really confusing, unreliable, and centralized. And you might have guessed it, there's a better way. So the better way, Marinade tracks all Solana validators and their performance automatically and selects the best performing ones, so you don't need to do it. It's all automated. What's the secret sauce there? So we've been building for years, basically listening to the biggest Solana holders and found 3 major insights from them how they stake their Solana. They would prefer no smart contract risk. They usually contract their validators for SLAs to guarantee the performance. And they get private deals with the validators to lower the commission to get higher rewards than the publicly available ones. So we thought, why these concepts are only out there to this privilege, to these Solana whales or the top validators? And what we did with Marinade really is that we built this Marinade's native, the stake auction marketplace, protected staking rewards. These concepts, we took these and put it on chain. So right now, any Solana staker and validator, no matter how big or small they are, they can participate and they can enjoy the same benefits just like the VIP staking market. So bringing these innovations in, what it resulted in is that right now the Marinade's marketplace provides the highest staking reward on the market without any additional smart contract risk. So not only that it beats the exchange staking, which is the default for most of the people, but also the 0% fee validators on Solana. What Marinade did is that it turned that manual, confusing, unreliable way and centralizing way to stake your Solana and made it very easy. Within one click, you can stake across hundreds of validators that are top performing, and while you still keep your Solana in your own custody. So to sum it up, right now, Marinade is the only way to automate your Solana staking across many validators without additional smart contract risk. So looking ahead, 25, what's ahead of us? We want to maximize rewards, minimize risk, and making sure that Marinade is accessible to all the Solana holders out there, no matter where they are, where they used to stake their Solana. So we're thinking across these three lines, and about a year ago, we shifted to serve the institutions. So we've been cooking a lot, and today I'm excited to share with you what's on the menu, what's coming in the next few weeks on this institutional front. So just last month, Marinade got audited and became SOC 2 compliant, and we are launching this institutional grade validator set that is going to meet the industry KYC and compliance standards. So think of it as still the highest rewards on the market, but provided from the validators that are trusted, reliable, and respected in the Solana ecosystem. Next, liquidity. So for institutions, and for everyone really, the access to your staked Solana is important, especially when the times are rough. You want your SOL now, not in 2 days, not tomorrow, right now. So we've been cooking something to make it available for native Solana staker to be able to immediately get out of their stake positions and gain their Solana through this compliant unstaked liquidity layer. So more than soon, in the next few weeks, we're releasing early alpha access, so you guys be aware. And finally, I'm extremely excited to announce that in 2 weeks, Marinade is getting integrated and going to be available with the qualified custodian here in the US. And it's a big thing for Marinade and for the industry, because from now on, tens of millions of SOL can finally be staked in a responsible, decentralized way from the US-based institutions. So not only the highest rewards, but now they can make sure that Solana network stays ever secure, stable, and censorship resistant. So very excited about that. Thank you.
So for those of you who collect company swag, I also think that Marinade has the best company swag out there, in the sense that, you know, with this whole chef motif, they have Marinade branded aprons, oven mitts, and chef hats. So I haven't collected any of those three yet, but definitely be on the lookout for those. Well, we covered a lot of ground there. We had sort of the institutional finance side with Marinade and Alphaledger. We had data and ML with Chakra and Crunch. And then we had the payments and stablecoin side with Easy. And beyond that, if you're sitting here thinking, wow, this incubator program sounds really interesting, how can I get involved? We're actually going to announce applications for Cohort 3 of the program in a few weeks' time. So you can follow us. We have @Incubator on Twitter. Somehow we got that handle. So feel free to follow us there, solanaincubator.com, and we'll keep you all updated from there. But once again, thank you so much for being here on this cloudy day. It was great having all of you, and feel free to hang out afterwards. Thank you again.